Jennifer walked into the courthouse laughing with Brendan, her hand on her pregnant belly, him wearing my unit ball cap, while 300 military families watched. I'm Captain Daniel Carson, 36 years old, 14 years in the Army, 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. I survived an IED blast in 2023 that should have killed me. I came home with a traumatic brain injury PTSD and a purple heart I keep in a velvet box because I can't look at it without seeing Jenkins's face. I thought surviving war was the hardest thing I'd ever do. I was wrong. The hardest battle I've ever fought started on a Tuesday morning in June at the Cumberland County Courthouse in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'd driven from Fort Liberty, still adjusting to the new name. My brain keeps calling it Fort Bragg, expecting a civil mediation. Jennifer had filed for divorce 3 weeks earlier. I thought we'd sit in a conference room, talk about custody arrangements for Sophie, our 8-year-old daughter. Keep it professional. Keep it contained. That's what soldiers do. We contain the damage. But Jennifer didn't walk in looking like someone ready to negotiate. She walked in like someone who'd already won. Brendan Hughes was next to her, her boss, the civilian contractor who runs security consulting on base. 42 years old, divorced, father of 2 kids he barely sees. And he was wearing my 3rd Special Forces Group ball cap, the black one with the unit crest, the one that represents brothers who didn't make it home. The lobby went quiet. Not silent, quiet. The kind of quiet where people are still breathing, but they've stopped talking. I saw Staff Sergeant Rodriguez near the water fountain. He looked at the cap, looked at me. His jaw tightened. Master Sergeant Rita Hayes was standing by the courtroom doors. She's my squad leader, 44 years old, built like she could bench press a Humvee. She served 3 tours with me. When she saw Brendan wearing that cap, her hand moved to her hip, muscle memory reaching for a sidearm that wasn't there. Jennifer noticed the silence. She smiled, not a nervous smile, a satisfied one. I was carrying my Bible, the leather one with our names engraved on the spine, Marcus and Diane Reynolds. Wait, no, wrong, Daniel and Jennifer Carson. Estar, 2007, 18 years of marriage. The leather's burgundy, cracked from use, pages dog-eared. It smells like old paper, and the leather oil I use to keep it from falling apart. I hold it when I need something solid under my hands. Right then, I needed something very solid. Brendan leaned over and whispered something to Jennifer. She laughed. Her hand went to her stomach, 5 months pregnant, maybe 6. The baby wasn't mine. We hadn't slept together in over a year. Not since my last deployment to Afghanistan when I came back different. Quieter, harder to reach. Or maybe I'd always been hard to reach and she'd just gotten tired of trying. My lawyer, Lieutenant Grace Palmer from JAG, touched my elbow. Captain Carson, we should head to chambers. I nodded, didn't trust my voice yet. We walked past Brendan. He made eye contact, smiled, adjusted the ball cap. I kept walking. In Special Forces, we have a code. Leave no man behind. We don't abandon our brothers, no matter what. On the battlefield, that means you carry your wounded even when the enemy's closing in. You stay until everyone's accounted for. You don't leave anyone to face the darkness alone. I taught that to Sophie. Told her it's not just for soldiers. It's for family, too. I didn't know yet that she'd have to teach it back to me. The courtroom clerk called us into Judge Mitchell's chambers. Harold Mitchell, 61, retired Army colonel, been on the family court bench for 10 years. He's got salt and pepper hair, reading glasses on a chain, and the kind of face that's seen enough deployments to know when someone's lying. We sat down, me and Lieutenant Palmer on one side. Jennifer and her lawyer, some civilian guy in a suit that cost more than my monthly salary, on the other. Brendan stayed in the hall. He wasn't party to the case, not yet. Judge Mitchell looked at the paperwork, looked at me, looked at Jennifer. Mrs. Carson, you filed for divorce on June 3rd. Captain Carson was served on June 5th. That's 18 days ago. You're requesting full custody of your daughter, Sophie, age 8. You're also requesting primary residence in the family home, spousal support, and division of military benefits. Yes, Your Honor. Jennifer's voice was steady, practiced. Captain Carson, you're contesting custody. Yes, sir. On what grounds? Lieutenant Palmer started to answer, but Jennifer's lawyer cut in. He stood up, adjusted his tie, and said 5 words that changed everything. Your Honor, Captain Carson is dangerous. The room tilted, not physically, but that's what it felt like the floor dropped out and I was falling but still sitting in my chair. Dangerous? Judge Mitchell's eyebrows went up. My client has documented evidence that Captain Carson suffers from severe, untreated PTSD. He has violent outbursts, refuses to seek help. On 3 occasions in the past 6 months, he's created an unsafe environment for their daughter. Mrs. Carson fears for Sophie's safety, and her own. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Lieutenant Palmer's hand went to the folder in front of her. Your Honor, that's categorically false. Captain Carson has been in consistent treatment at the VA Medical Center for 18 months. He's never missed an appointment. He's never been violent toward his wife or child. Mrs. Carson's allegations are documented, Jennifer's lawyer interrupted. He slid a manila folder across the table. Medical records, witness statements, photos of property damage during Captain Carson's episodes. Judge Mitchell opened the folder, scanned the pages. His face didn't change, but his jaw tightened. I knew what he was looking at. Reports I'd never seen, statements I'd never given, records that had my name but not my signature. Captain Carson, have you been diagnosed with PTSD? Yes, sir. Traumatic brain injury and PTSD following an IED explosion in Afghanistan, March 2023. And you're in treatment? Yes, sir. Lieutenant Palmer pulled out a rubber-banded stack of cards, small ones, business card size, white cardstock with the VA Medical Center logo, blue and red. She fanned them out on the table like a poker hand. These are Captain Carson's VA appointment cards. 15 of them, from January 2024 to June 2025, every single appointment attended. Dr. Sarah Brennan is his treating psychologist. She'll testify that Captain Carson is one of the most committed patients she's ever worked with. He uses breathing techniques, journals, attends group therapy. He's managing his condition responsibly. Judge Mitchell picked up the cards, looked at each one. The dates were handwritten, stamped with the VA seal. Mrs. Carson, were you aware your husband was in treatment? Jennifer's lawyer started to answer, but Judge Mitchell held up a hand. Mrs. Carson, were you aware? Jennifer shifted in her seat. He goes to appointments, but he doesn't tell me what happens there. He won't talk about it. That's the problem, Your Honor. He shuts me out. He won't communicate. And when he gets triggered, The phone on Judge Mitchell's desk rang. He frowned. I'm in chambers. This better be... He picked up, listened. His expression changed. When? Pause. File number? Another pause. Send them in. He hung up, looked at me, then at Jennifer. That was the court hotline. Sophie's school counselor just filed a mandatory report with Child Protective Services. As of 10 minutes ago, this case is under CPS investigation. Jennifer went pale. Her lawyer started talking, something about protocol, about rights, about needing time, but Judge Mitchell wasn't listening. He was looking at me. And in his eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen in that room yet. I saw belief. I drove straight from the courthouse to my neighborhood, Fort Liberty Housing, 340 military families crammed into identical 2-story units with beige siding and brown shutters. Every lawn exactly 3 inches high because that's regulation. Every driveway holds the same anxiety, waiting for deployment orders, waiting for bad news, waiting for something to break. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez lives 2 houses down from mine. Miguel Rodriguez, 39, infantry, married to Maria for 15 years. 3 kids, good man. The kind who shows up when your car won't start, who lends you his lawnmower, Who doesn't ask questions when you need an hour to yourself? He was in his driveway when I pulled up, washing his truck. He turned off the hose when he saw me. Captain, he nodded. How'd it go? CPS is involved now. He set down the hose. Sophie okay? I don't know. I don't know what she told her counselor. I stopped, took a breath. 4 counts in, hold 4, 4 counts out, hold 4. Dr. Brennan's technique. I don't know what's happening anymore, Miguel. He looked at my house, then back at me. I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Wasn't sure if I should, but after today... He walked to his truck, opened the glove compartment, and pulled out a small plastic case, clear, with a white label. Inside was a micro SD card, black, tiny, size of a fingernail. My Ring camera, Miguel said. I installed it 6 months ago after the break-ins over on Riley Street. Points at my driveway, but it catches part of yours too. I was reviewing footage last week, thought I saw someone messing with my truck, and I noticed... He paused. I noticed Brendan's car. A lot. The world got very quiet again. Different kind of quiet this time. How much is a lot? I pulled the logs 47 times over the past 8 months. Always during your morning training shifts, 4:30 to noon. Every time his silver Lexus parks in your driveway, stays until about 11:30 noon. I could feel my pulse in my temples. The TBI does that sometimes, makes my head pound when the blood pressure spikes. You're sure? I'm sure. I made a copy for you, labeled it with the date. You'll need it. He handed me the case. The plastic made a crinkling sound. The SD card inside was so small, something you could lose between couch cushions, but it held 8 months of proof. 47 mornings. 47 times Jennifer texted me while I was at work. Casual texts. Home alone, miss you. Thinking about you. Wish you were here. Brendan's car was already there. Miguel, why didn't you tell me earlier? He looked uncomfortable. Didn't want to get involved in someone's marriage. Figured maybe it was innocent. Maybe he was helping with house stuff while you were deployed. But then I saw them. He stopped. Saw them what? July 18th, 2024. Morning, I was taking out the trash. Saw them in your driveway. Kissing. Not like friends. Like... He didn't finish. July 18th, 2024. I was in Afghanistan. Our unit was running operations near Kandahar. High alert. Hadn't slept in 36 hours. And Jennifer sent me a text that day. I remember it. I'm so lonely without you. Counting the days until you're home. Please be safe. Brendan was in our bed. If you've ever discovered proof that rewrote your entire reality, a text, a receipt, footage you wish you'd never seen, just type evidence in the comments. You're not alone in that moment when everything clicks into place and you wish it hadn't. The CPS caseworker showed up at my house at 4:30 that afternoon. Ms. Yolanda Davis, 52, 20 years with Child Protective Services. She had gray streaks in her hair and the kind eyes of someone who's seen every variation of family trauma and still chooses to believe in people. She sat across from me at my kitchen table. Sophie was at school, would be home at 5:15. I had 45 minutes to figure out what my daughter had told her counselor. 45 minutes to prepare for how much my 8-year-old had been carrying alone. Captain Carson, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them will be difficult. I need you to answer honestly. Yes, ma'am. Have you ever struck your daughter? No, ma'am. Have you ever struck your wife? No, ma'am. Have you ever engaged in any physical violence in your daughter's presence? No, ma'am, I don't. I would never. She made a note. Sophie's school counselor, Mrs. Rivera, filed the report this morning. Sophie has been seeing Mrs. Rivera for 6 weeks. At first, it was just anxiety, trouble focusing, nightmares. But 3 days ago, Sophie came to school with something. Ms. Davis pulled out her tablet, showed me a photo. It was a gray Army PT shirt, size medium. Sophie's name tag sewn inside the collar, S. Carson. There were brown stains on the right shoulder, dried blood. The shirt was sealed in a clear plastic evidence bag. The label read CDN 2025-1847. Do you recognize this? Yes, that's Sophie's. She wore that 3 weeks ago, Thursday night, June 13th. Jennifer and Brendan were arguing. I was at a training evolution, didn't get home until 10. When I walked in, Sophie was in the bathroom, nosebleed, crying. The shirt was in the sink. What happened? Sophie said Brendan shoved Jennifer during the argument. Sophie tried to get between them, fell into the doorframe, hit her nose. I stopped, swallowed. I took photos, filed a police report, case number 2025-06-1394. Officer Simmons responded. And Mrs. Carson's response? She said I was overreacting, that it was an accident, that Sophie tripped. She accused me of trying to build a custody case. Ms. Davis made more notes. Sophie told Mrs. Rivera something different. She said, Brendan pushed Mommy. I tried to help. He didn't mean to hit me, but he was mad and I got in the way. My hands were flat on the table, palms down. I could feel the wood grain, could feel my pulse through my fingertips. Captain Carson, I need to ask you directly. Does Brendan Hughes scare your daughter? I don't know. She hasn't said. Would she tell you if he did? I thought about Sophie, my little girl, 8 years old, brown hair like Jennifer's, my eyes, stubborn like both of us. She plays soccer, center midfield, runs faster than half the boys in her league. She writes letters to deployed soldiers because I taught her that words matter when you're far from home. She still sleeps with the stuffed elephant I gave her before my first deployment. She watches everything, notices everything, carries everything. I think, I said carefully, Sophie tries to protect me. She's seen me struggle with the PTSD, the flashbacks, the nightmares. I think she's afraid if she tells me something bad, I stopped. The words were stuck. You'll what, Captain? I'll leave again, like I did for deployments. She's 8. Every time I deploy to her, it feels like I'm choosing the Army over her, even though I'm not, even though I'm trying to. My voice cracked. 4 counts in, hold 4, 4 counts out, hold 4. Ms. Davis waited. She was good at her job. She knew when to push and when to let silence do the work. Where is Sophie now? She asked. School. Dismissal is 5:15. I pick her up every day. I'll need to speak with her, here, in her home environment. Is that acceptable? Yes, ma'am. And Captain, I need to ask. The allegations Mrs. Carson's lawyer made this morning about violent outbursts, property damage, are any of those true? I looked at her, this woman who held my daughter's future in her case file. I broke a coffee mug 6 months ago. I was having a nightmare, woke up flailing, knocked it off the nightstand, it shattered. That's the only property damage. And the violent outburst Jennifer's referring to, I raised my voice during an argument about Brendan. I said I didn't want him around Sophie. Jennifer said I was being controlling. I said I didn't trust him. We argued. Loudly, that's it. No threats, no physical contact. Just 2 people who didn't know how to talk anymore without it turning into a fight. Ms. Davis closed her tablet. I'll need to see the police report from June 13th. I'll need contact information for your VA psychologist, Dr. Brennan. And I'll need to speak with Sophie, but Captain Carson. She looked at me, really looked at me. I've been doing this job for 20 years. I've interviewed hundreds of fathers. Most of them tell me what they think I want to hear. You're telling me what's true. That matters. Sophie came through the front door at 5:20, 5 minutes late because her soccer practice ran over. She had grass stains on her knees, and her backpack was half unzipped like always. She stopped when she saw Ms. Davis. Sophie, this is Ms. Davis. She's from Child Protective Services. She needs to talk with you about some things, okay? Sophie looked at me, then at Ms. Davis. Her face went careful, that's the word, careful, like she was stepping into a room where the floor might collapse. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble. Ms. Davis smiled. The kind of smile adults give kids when they're about to ask hard questions. Sophie, let's go sit in your room. Just you and me. Your dad will be right out here if you need him. They went upstairs. I heard Sophie's door close. Not all the way, just enough. I sat in the living room, stared at the wall. There's a photo there from 2019, before my last deployment. Sophie was 5. She's sitting on my shoulders at the beach, both of us laughing, sun setting behind us. Jennifer took the photo. She was smiling too. I remember that day, remember thinking we were going to be okay, that the deployments and the moves and the hard parts were worth it because we had this. We had each other. That version of us doesn't exist anymore. I don't know when it died. Maybe slowly, over years. Maybe all at once in some moment I missed because I was overseas. Maybe it was already dead and I was just the last one to notice. 30 minutes later, Ms. Davis came downstairs, alone. Sophie wants you to come up. She has something to show you. I climbed the stairs. My knee hurts from the blast, bone fragments they couldn't remove, so I take them one at a time. Sophie's door was open now. She was sitting on her bed, cross-legged, holding something, her deployment journal. I started it on my first deployment, spiral-bound notebook, camouflage cover. I'd write in it every day. Tell Sophie what I was doing, what I was thinking, what I missed about her. Then I'd ask her to draw me pictures. Her mom would help her mail them to me, and I'd tuck them in the notebook, carried it through Iraq, through Afghanistan, through 4 tours and more close calls than I can count. The corner's water damaged. Baghdad rain, 2021. The pages are wrinkled, make a crinkling sound when you turn them. Sophie's crayon drawings have texture. You can feel where she pressed hard. Purple for her dress, yellow for the sun, brown for my uniform. It smells like old paper and desert dust. Ms. Davis asked when you knew about Brendan, I said quietly. Sophie opened the journal, found a page. There was a pressed flower there, a daisy, from our last father-daughter camping trip, before everything changed. It was tucked on page 47. 6 months ago, Sophie whispered. I saw them, Mommy and Brendan, in the garage, kissing. Everything stopped. 6 months? She nodded, tears running down her face now. I didn't tell you because every time you come home from deployment, I'm scared you'll leave again. And if I told you about Mommy, her voice broke, you might go away forever. I sat down next to her, pulled her close. Sophie, baby girl, listen to me. I'm not going anywhere. Do you understand? Not anywhere. But what if the judge says I have to live with Mommy? What if... She couldn't finish. She was sobbing now. 8 years old and carrying 6 months of secrets because she was trying to protect me. I should have protected her. On the shelf above her bed, there's a soccer trophy, 8 inches tall, plastic, painted gold. An angel holding a soccer ball, the left wing's broken off, snapped. The base says, Sophie Carson, MVP Spring 2025. I went to every game, all 10 of them. Jennifer missed 7. Work, she said, had to show a property, had to meet with a client, always something. The wing broke 2 weeks ago. Jennifer was packing some of Sophie's things without asking. Just in case, she said, in case we need to move quickly. She threw the trophy in a box carelessly. It hit the side. The wing snapped. Sophie cried, not because the trophy was broken, because the person who was supposed to care didn't. I held my daughter, her face pressed into my shoulder, my chin resting on top of her head, the journal open between us to page 47, the pressed daisy brittle with age. Daddy, Sophie whispered, do I have to live with Brendan? And I realized I didn't have an answer. I didn't have a promise I could keep. All I had was, I'm trying, baby girl. That night, after Ms. Davis left, after Sophie finally fell asleep clutching her deployment journal, I sat in my bedroom in the dark. The Purple Heart was in my dresser, bottom drawer, in its navy blue velvet box. I haven't opened it in 6 months. Can't look at it without seeing March 2023, the IED, Jenkins screaming, the smell of burning metal and flesh, the ringing in my ears that still hasn't stopped completely, the metal's bronze, heavy. 3 ounces of metal that's supposed to represent sacrifice. The purple enamel is smooth. The edges are tarnished, earned, not given. When you close the box, it makes this soft snapping sound, final, like a door closing, like something you can't take back. Jennifer tried to pawn it. I found out 3 weeks ago, the pawn shop owner, a Vietnam vet, recognized what it was. Called the VA hotline instead of buying it. They tracked me down, asked if I was in crisis, if I needed help. I wasn't in crisis. My wife was trying to sell my Purple Heart for cash. That's when I knew she was already gone. That's when I knew this wasn't about marriage counseling or trying harder or fixing what was broken. She'd decided I was worth more as pieces than as a person. My phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Captain Carson, this is Lieutenant Palmer. Please call me when you get this. We need to discuss tomorrow's hearing. Judge Mitchell is ordering a full financial audit of household accounts. And there's something else. Something about the medical bills Mrs. Carson submitted. Dr. Brennan flagged them. We need to talk. Tonight, if possible. I stared at the text. Financial audit. Medical bills. I thought about the manila folder Jennifer's lawyer had slid across the table. The one with my name but not my signature. I thought about Brendan, his security consulting company, his connections, his willingness to wear my unit ball cap into a courthouse like it meant nothing. And I realized this wasn't just about stealing my wife. This was about erasing me completely. Lieutenant Grace Palmer's office is on base, small, efficient, metal desk, filing cabinets, certificates on the wall. She's 29, been JAG for 5 years, sharp, doesn't waste words. When I walked in at 0700 the next morning, she already had the SD card loaded on her laptop. Captain, sit down. You need to see this. She'd spent the night reviewing the Ring camera footage, all 47 instances, logged them in a spreadsheet, dates, times, duration, cross-referenced with my training schedule, my deployment records, my text message history with Jennifer. July 18th, 2024, Lieutenant Palmer said. She clicked play on the video file. The timestamp read 4:47 a.m. Brendan's silver Lexus pulled into my driveway. He got out, walked to my front door, didn't knock, used a key. He has a key to your house? I didn't give him one. She clicked to another file. Same day. 11:52 a.m., Brendan walking out. Jennifer in the doorway, both smiling. He leaned in, kissed her, not a peck, a real kiss. The kind that lasts. Lieutenant Palmer pulled up my phone records. At 08:30 that morning, you received a text from your wife. Rate it. I already knew what it said, but she pulled it up anyway. I'm so lonely without you, counting the days until you're home. Please be safe. I love you. The words sat there on the screen. Jennifer's contact photo next to them, smiling, from our anniversary dinner 2 years ago. Brendan was in my bed when she sent that. I was in Kandahar, hadn't slept in 36 hours, had just watched a patrol nearly get hit by a VBIED, was trying to write an after-action report while my hands shook from adrenaline, and my wife was telling me she loved me while her lover walked out my front door. Lieutenant Palmer pulled up another date, September 3rd, 2024, October 9th, November 22nd, January 8th, 2025, February 14th, Valentine's Day, March 19th, April 2nd. Every date had footage. Every date had texts from Jennifer. Missing you. Home alone. Wish you were here. Every single one was a lie. Master Sergeant Hayes came in. She'd been waiting outside, didn't say anything, just looked at the screen, then at me. Permission to speak freely, sir? Granted. That's some cold-blooded shit. Yeah, it was. Lieutenant Palmer closed the laptop. The timestamps match perfectly. Every morning, Jennifer texted you about being home alone and missing you, Brendan's car was already in your driveway. This proves the affair has been ongoing for 8 months, but it also proves premeditation. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was calculated, deliberate. She was lying to you in real time while you were deployed in combat. Can we use this in court? Absolutely. North Carolina allows fault-based divorce. Adultery affects custody and alimony. But Captain, there's more. She opened her desk drawer, pulled out a manila folder. Tan, coffee-stained, the same one from yesterday's hearing. Dr. Brennan called me last night. The VA's legal department flagged something. Mrs. Carson filed for reimbursement of $18,000 in medical expenses. Claimed you refused to go to the VA, that you insisted on private treatment, that she had to cover the costs. She submitted 23 invoices. She opened the folder. The pages inside had a slight glossy coating, highlighted sections, stapled in the corner, professional looking, official looking. These bills are fake. The room got very quiet. Dr. Brennan confirmed you've never paid a cent out of pocket. The VA covers 100% of your PTSD treatment. She pulled your records. Every appointment is fully covered. 0 copays, 0 balance due. You attend weekly therapy, group sessions, medication management, all free. Standard veterans benefits. Lieutenant Palmer flipped through the invoices. These are well-made fakes, professional formatting, fake clinic names, addresses that don't exist, but they made one mistake. She turned her laptop toward me, split screen, left side one of the fake invoices, right side an invoice from Brendan's security consulting company. Identical formatting, same fonts, same layout, same logo placement. We traced the IP address on the email that sent these to the court. Brendan's laptop, his office on base. He created these. Your wife signed them. Together they attempted to defraud you and the court of $18,000. My hands were flat on the desk. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. The TBI does this, makes everything sharp and loud when the blood pressure spikes. That's wire fraud, Master Sergeant Hayes said. Federal charges. Yes. Lieutenant Palmer closed the folder. This isn't marriage fraud. This isn't even divorce fraud. This is conspiracy to commit wire fraud using electronic communications to cross state lines. If we report this, and we have to report this, Brendan could face federal prosecution. Your wife could face charges as accessory. She looked at me. Captain, they didn't just steal from you. They weaponized your PTSD. The wounds you got serving your country, the treatment you're fighting so hard to maintain, they turned it into a con. They used your mental health as the justification to rob you. This isn't marriage fraud. This is wire fraud. Federal charges, and Brendan's fingerprints are all over it. I left Lieutenant Palmer's office at 0900. Had to be at the courthouse by 1300 for a preliminary hearing. 4 hours. I drove home to change into my dress uniform. The parking lot was half empty. My truck, 2 sedans, a silver Lexus. Brendan. He was leaning against his car, waiting, still wearing my unit ball cap. When he saw me, he smiled, pushed off the car, started walking toward me. Master Sergeant Hayes' truck pulled in behind me. She'd followed. I didn't ask her to. She just did. That's what squad leaders do. They watch your six. She got out slowly, pulled out her phone, started filming. Brendan stopped about 10 feet away. Daniel, we should talk. No. Come on, man. This doesn't have to be ugly. Jennifer and I, we're trying to make this as easy as possible for Sophie's sake. For Sophie's sake? Yeah, look, I know you're upset. I get it. But the reality is, Jennifer hasn't been happy for a long time. You've been gone more than you've been here. 4 deployments, all those training evolutions. You chose the Army over your family, and now you're surprised she found someone who actually shows up. I took a step forward. Master Sergeant Hayes' voice cut through. Captain Carson, stay right there, sir. I stopped. Brendan noticed her phone, noticed she was filming. His smile faltered. "Smart," he said, bringing back up, making me look like the bad guy. "You are the bad guy," Hayes said. Her voice was flat, cold. "You're wearing a unit ball cap you didn't earn. Those are my brothers on that crest, men who died. You're stealing their valor to play dress up." "It's just a hat." "No." Hayes stepped closer. "It's stolen honor. Take it off." "Or what?" "Or I'll file a report with the base commander. Civilians wearing unauthorized military insignia on federal property. You'll lose your security clearance, your consulting contracts, your access to this base, over a hat." Brendan's jaw tightened, but he didn't take it off. That's when I noticed it, in his jacket pocket. Chrome, catching the sunlight. My Zippo lighter, the engraved one. Jennifer gave it to me before my first deployment, 2011. Captain D. Carson, stay safe, come home. J. In her handwriting, I don't smoke, never have. But I carried it anyway. Every deployment, every patrol, every mission. For luck. For her. For the promise she made that she'd be there when I came home. Brendan had stolen that too. Master Sergeant Hayes zoomed in with her phone camera. Got a clear shot of the lighter. The engraving visible. I noticed the lighter in his pocket, the one Jennifer gave me before my first deployment. He'd stolen that too. Master Sergeant Hayes zoomed in with her phone. Brendan realized what we were looking at. His hand moved to cover the pocket. Too late. "That's evidence of theft," Hayes said. "Theft of personal property belonging to a service member. Want me to call the MPs? Or you want to hand it over?" "It's not. Jennifer gave it to me. She said she didn't need it anymore." "Because it's not hers to give," I said. My voice was level, controlled. "It's mine. She gave it to me. That makes it my property. And you took it." "She offered it?" "After telling you the story behind it? After telling you I carried it through 4 deployments? After telling you it was the last piece of our marriage I still believed in?" I took another step forward. Hayes didn't stop me this time. "You took it because you wanted to erase me. The affair wasn't enough. You had to take my things, wear my hat, sleep in my bed, steal the symbols of everything I've sacrificed. You wanted to replace me completely." Brendan's face hardened. "You replaced yourself, man. You came back from Afghanistan broken. Jennifer tried. She really did. But you wouldn't let her in. Wouldn't talk. Wouldn't connect. You just sat there with your PTSD and your guilt and your..." "Careful," Hayes warned. "And your fucking war wounds, like they made you special. They don't. They make you damaged. And Jennifer deserves better than waiting around for you to figure out how to be human again." The parking lot was silent. Someone in an office building across the street was watching. I could see them in the window. If you were Daniel, would you demand the cap back and risk looking unstable? Type, "Take it." Or stay silent and use it as evidence later? Type, "Evidence." What would you do? I looked at Brendan, at the ball cap, at the lighter in his pocket, at the man who'd stolen my wife, my home, my daughter's sense of safety. I looked at Master Sergeant Hayes. She gave me a slight nod. I looked at the phone she was holding, recording everything. Whatever you chose, both take courage. Taking it back is standing up for what's yours. Staying silent is playing the long game. I had 3 seconds to decide. "Keep the hat," I said. "Keep the lighter. Wear them into court tomorrow. I want the judge to see exactly who you are." Brendan blinked, confused. I walked past him, got into my truck. Hayes followed. We drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him standing there, still wearing my unit ball cap, still holding my stolen lighter, still thinking he'd won. He had no idea Master Sergeant Hayes had just given us everything we needed. The next day, Dr. Michelle Torres's office, on base, Child and Family Services. Sophie's been seeing her for 3 weeks. Court-ordered evaluation. Dr. Torres is 46, specializes in military family trauma. She has a soft voice and an office full of toys and art supplies and things designed to make kids feel safe enough to tell the truth. I was behind the one-way glass. Standard protocol. Sophie didn't know I was watching. Lieutenant Palmer was next to me. The court-appointed custody evaluator, Ms. Jennifer Washington, was taking notes. Sophie sat on the couch, small, 8 years old, holding her deployment journal. She'd brought it herself. Dr. Torres didn't ask her to. "Sophie, do you know why you're here today?" "Because of the divorce." "That's right, and because I need to understand how you're feeling, how you're doing. Is that okay?" Sophie nodded. "I want to show you something." Dr. Torres pulled out a worksheet. "These are different kinds of feelings: happy, sad, scared, angry, confused, safe. Can you point to how you feel most of the time?" Sophie pointed to 3. Sad, scared, confused. "Can you tell me why you feel scared?" Sophie's hands tightened on the journal. "Because I don't know where I'm going to live, and I don't want to live with Brendan." "Why don't you want to live with Brendan?" Long pause. Sophie looked at the one-way glass, like she knew I was there. "Because he's not nice when he thinks no one's watching. He's nice to Mommy, but he gets mad easy. And when Mommy makes him mad, he yells. And I tried to help one time and..." She touched her nose. The nosebleed. 3 weeks ago. "Sophie, when you're scared or worried, what helps you feel better?" "Breathing, like Daddy taught me. 4 counts in, hold, 4 counts out, hold." Dr. Torres made a note. "Where did you learn that?" "From Daddy's therapy. I heard him talking to Dr. Brennan on the phone, so I practiced, and when I feel scared, I use it." Ms. Washington, the custody evaluator, leaned forward, made a note. Dr. Torres opened her own notebook. "Sophie, I want to ask you about something Mrs. Rivera told me. You told her you've known about your mom and Brendan for a while. When did you first know?" Sophie opened the deployment journal, found the page with the pressed daisy, page 47. "6 months ago, I saw them kissing in the garage. I wanted to tell Daddy, but..." Her voice got small. "Every time Daddy comes home from deployment, I'm scared he'll leave again. I thought if I told him about Mommy, he'd be so sad he'd go away forever." Dr. Torres asked Sophie when she first knew about Brendan. She whispered, 6 months, but I couldn't tell Daddy. He might leave again." "So you kept it a secret? To protect your dad?" "Yeah. That's a very heavy thing for an 8-year-old to carry. Do you feel like it's your job to take care of your dad?" Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "Somebody has to." Mommy stopped. Behind the glass, Lieutenant Palmer looked at me. Ms. Washington was writing faster now. "Sophie, if you could describe your perfect day, no rules, anything you want, what would it be?" Sophie thought about it. "Making pancakes with Daddy because he lets me crack the eggs. And then soccer practice, and then we'd read from the deployment journal together, the pages from when he was in Afghanistan. Because when I read them, I can hear his voice. And I know he was always thinking about me, even when he was far away." "What about your mom? Would she be in this perfect day?" Sophie hesitated. "Before Brendan, yes. But now..." She stopped. "Now, when Mommy's around, she's always on the phone with him, or texting him, or leaving to meet him. She used to come to my soccer games. Now she doesn't. Daddy comes to all of them." "If you had to choose one word to describe how you feel at your dad's house versus your mom's house, what would they be?" "Daddy's house, safe. Mommy's house, worried." Ms. Washington underlined something in her notes, drew a star next to it. Dr. Torres leaned forward. "Sophie, I want you to know something. You are very brave and very smart, and it's not your job to take care of your dad. That's what grown-ups are for. Your job is to be 8 years old, to play soccer, to draw pictures, to just be a kid. Okay?" Sophie nodded, but the tears were falling now. "Can I see my dad?" "Yes, of course." I came around, opened the door. Sophie ran to me. wrapped her arms around my waist. I picked her up. She's getting too big for this, almost too heavy, but I did it anyway. She buried her face in my shoulder. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. You hear me? She nodded against my shoulder. Dr. Torres watched us, made one final note. Later, Lieutenant Palmer would tell me what it said. Father-daughter bond is primary attachment. Child demonstrates secure attachment to father, anxious attachment to mother. Recommend primary custody with father. 1 week later, Lieutenant Palmer's office again. She had someone with her, a teenage kid, 16, maybe 17, tall, skinny, nervous. Captain Carson, this is Marcus Hughes, Brendan's son. The kid stood up, shook my hand. His palm was sweating. Sir, I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner, but my dad, Marcus stopped, started again. My dad does this. This isn't the first time. We sat down. Lieutenant Palmer had her recorder running, court reporter present. This was an official deposition. Marcus, tell Captain Carson what you told me. The kid pulled out his phone, hands shaking. My dad has this family group chat. Me, my sister, my mom, his ex-wife. He doesn't know I screenshot stuff, but I do, because... He looked at me. Because he did the same thing to my mom 5 years ago, before the divorce. He had an affair with his boss's wife, another military family, senior partner at his old security firm. He bragged about it in the family chat like it was a game he was winning. He handed me his phone. The screenshots were there. Text messages from Brendan Hughes, August 2024. Landed the captain's wife. Guy's too busy playing hero overseas to notice what's happening at home. Easy target. She's lonely, he's broken, perfect setup. By Christmas, I'll have her moved in with me, and he'll be paying me alimony through her. Easiest con I've ever run. I read it 3 times. Landed the captain's wife. Easy target. Easiest con. Marcus was crying now. I deleted it right away. I couldn't believe I'm so sorry, sir. I should have told you. Should have warned you. But he's my dad. And I thought maybe this time would be different. Maybe he actually cared about Jennifer, but then I saw the letter. The job offer. What job offer? Lieutenant Palmer pulled out a document. Single page. Official letterhead. Blackwater Security Solutions. Dated July 15th, 2025. Offer of employment for Daniel Carson. Salary $140,000 annually. Position, Senior Security Consultant. Location, Iraq. Start date, August 1st. I scanned the document. It looked legitimate, impressive. More money than I'd ever made. Then I saw the clause. Paragraph 7, page 2, small print. Position requires immediate relocation to theater of operations within 30 days of acceptance. Employee must maintain continuous presence in Iraq for duration of initial 12-month contract. Early termination results in forfeiture of signing bonus and relocation expenses. Brendan helped arrange this, Marcus said. I heard him on the phone with his contacts at Blackwater. He told them to make it a good offer, make it look too good to refuse, and then bury the relocation requirement in the fine print. Lieutenant Palmer explained. If you had accepted this job, you'd be required to leave the country within 30 days. Right in the middle of the custody battle. Mrs. Carson's lawyer would use it as evidence that you're choosing your career over your daughter, that you're abandoning her. Again, the judge would be forced to give custody to Mrs. Carson because you'd be overseas unavailable. And Brendan gets what he wants, I said. Me out of the picture, Sophie in his house, Jennifer dependent on him, everything wrapped up clean. Marcus pulled out his phone again. There's more. Last month, Dad texted the family chat about you. He said, the kid's voice broke. He said you were a mark from the start. That military guys with PTSD are the easiest targets because they doubt themselves. They think they're the problem. They won't fight back because they're scared of proving everyone right about them being dangerous. He showed me the texts. Carson won't fight for custody. He's too scared of his own PTSD, thinks he's a bad father, thinks he's broken. By the time he figures out what I've done, it'll be too late. These military guys are all the same, well-trained, poorly defended. They'll die for their country, but won't fight for themselves. Marcus looked at me, 16 years old, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, sir. My dad does this. He did it to my mom. He's doing it to you, and you're not the problem. He is. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed text from his dad, landed the captain's wife. Guy's clueless. Then he looked at me and said, I'm sorry, sir. My dad does this. The deposition lasted 2 hours. Marcus gave us everything. Text messages, emails, recorded phone calls where Brendan bragged about the scheme. His ex-wife, Charlotte, was on speakerphone. She corroborated everything. 5 years ago, Brendan did the same thing to her, seduced her while she was vulnerable, moved in fast, then turned vicious when she tried to leave. He has a type, Charlotte said over the phone. Her voice was tired, sad. Women who feel invisible. Women who've been putting everyone else first for so long, they've forgotten who they are. Military wives are perfect. They're isolated. Their husbands are deployed. They're lonely. Brendan swoops in, makes them feel seen, makes them feel special. And by the time they realize what he is, it's too late. What is he? I asked. Charlotte was quiet for a moment. A predator, not the violent kind, the calculating kind. He doesn't want to hurt people. He wants to use them. And when he's done, he moves on. Lieutenant Palmer turned off the recorder, looked at me. Captain, this changes everything. We have proof this was premeditated. We have proof Brendan targeted your wife deliberately. We have proof he created a scheme to remove you from Sophie's life. This isn't just an affair. This is conspiracy, fraud, theft, manipulation, and we have his own son and ex-wife willing to testify. I looked at Marcus. This kid who'd driven 2 hours from Charlotte to do the right thing, who was betraying his own father to tell the truth. Why? I asked him. Why are you doing this? Because I was Sophie's age when my dad did this to my mom, and I watched my mom fall apart, watched her blame herself, watched her think she wasn't good enough, and the whole time it wasn't her fault. It was him. He chose this. He planned this. And if I don't say something now, Sophie's going to grow up thinking the same thing, thinking her dad wasn't good enough, thinking it was his fault. And that's... His voice cracked. That's not fair. You're a good dad, I can tell. My dad's texts, he called you well-trained, poorly defended. That's not weakness, sir. That's being a good person in a world full of people like my dad. I shook his hand. Thank you, Marcus. Leave no man behind, right? That's what you guys say? Yeah, that's what we say. Then I couldn't leave you behind, sir. 4th of July. Sophie and I went to the neighborhood cookout. Military housing throws a big one every year. Grills, music, kids running around with sparklers, families pretending everything's normal even when it's not. Sophie played with her friends. I stood with Master Sergeant Hayes and Staff Sergeant Rodriguez. We didn't talk much, just watched the kids, watched the sun go down, watched the families that were still intact and the ones that were barely holding together. At 2000 hours, the fireworks started. That's when everything went wrong. The first explosion, I was back in Afghanistan, March 2023. The IED, the Humvee in front of us, the blast that turned metal into shrapnel and men into screaming. Jenkins was in that Humvee. Jenkins, who had a daughter Sophie's age. Jenkins, who showed me photos every day at breakfast. Jenkins, who didn't make it home. The second explosion. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight. The world was too loud, too bright. Everyone around me was a threat. I needed to get out, get away, find cover. I was moving. Didn't realize I was moving. Someone called my name. I didn't hear them. I ended up in my house, bedroom, closet. I don't remember walking there, don't remember opening the door, but I was on the floor, curled up, hands over my ears, the fireworks outside sounding like mortars, like gunfire, like the world ending again. The purple heart box was in my hand. I'd grabbed it from the dresser. The velvet was soft. The box was cool. I was holding it so tight my knuckles were white. The bronze medal inside. 3 ounces. Earned March 17th, 2023, the day Jenkins died. The day I should have died. The day I came home broken and everyone said I was lucky. I wasn't lucky. I was alive. There's a difference. The closet was dark, small, safe. I could hear my breathing, fast, shallow, wrong. Dr. Brennan's voice in my head. 4 counts in, hold 4. 4 counts out, hold 4. But I couldn't. The counts were too long. The air was too thick. I was drowning in my own bedroom. Then a sound, the closet door opening, light spilling in. Sophie. She climbed in next to me. Didn't say anything at first, just sat down. Cross-legged. She had her deployment journal, the one with all her drawings, all my letters, the pressed daisy on page 47. "Daddy," she said quietly, "I need you to breathe with me." I tried to tell her to leave, to go back outside, to not see me like this, but the words wouldn't come. 4 counts in. She breathed in, counted. Hold for 4. She held. 4 counts out. She exhaled. Hold for 4. She did it again, and slowly, so slowly, I matched her rhythm. 4 in, hold, 4 out, hold. My daughter was 8 years old, and she was talking me through a PTSD flashback using the breathing technique she'd learned from listening to my therapy sessions. The fireworks were still going outside, but they sounded further away now, muffled, distant. Sophie opened the journal, found a page, one of my letters from Afghanistan, July 2022. She read it out loud. "Dear Sophie, today was hard. I can't tell you why, it's classified, but I can tell you that when I was at my lowest, I thought about you. I thought about your laugh, about the way you run across the soccer field like you're flying, about how you always save me the last cookie even when you want it yourself. And I thought, I have to get home. Because you're waiting, and I won't let you wait forever. I love you, baby girl. Even when I'm far away, I'm still your dad, and I'm still fighting to come home. Love, Daddy." She closed the journal, looked at me. "You did come home, Daddy. You kept your promise, and now I'm going to keep mine." "What promise?" "Leave no man behind." She put her small hand on mine. On the purple heart box I was clutching. "You taught me that. You taught me we don't abandon people we love, even when they're scared, even when they're hurt, even when they're sitting in a closet trying to breathe." The tears came then. I couldn't stop them. "I'm sorry, Sophie. I'm so sorry you have to see me like this. I'm supposed to protect you. I'm supposed to..." "You do protect me, Daddy, every day. You come to my soccer games. You make me breakfast. You check under my bed for monsters even though I'm too old for that. You read to me. You listen to me. You're here." She squeezed my hand. "Brendan's never here, not really. Even when he's standing right there, he's somewhere else. But you're always here. Even when you're deployed, you write letters. You send drawings. You think about me. That's protecting me." Sophie sat next to me in that closet, put her small hand on mine and said, "Leave no man behind, Daddy. I've got you. I'm not going anywhere." We sat there together, in the dark, in the closet, my 8-year-old daughter and me. The fireworks continued outside, but they didn't sound like war anymore. They just sounded like fireworks. Sophie leaned against my shoulder. "You're not broken, Daddy. You're just tired. And that's okay. Even soldiers get tired. How did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best." We stayed in that closet until the fireworks ended, until the neighborhood got quiet, until I could breathe without counting. When we finally came out, it was almost 2200. Sophie's deployment journal was still in her hands. The Purple Heart box was still in mine. She looked up at me. Daddy, when you have to go to court tomorrow, I want to go too. Sophie, you don't have to. I want to. I want to tell the judge. I want to tell him about tonight, about how you taught me to breathe, about how even when you're scared, you're still my dad, about how that's what love looks like. I knelt down, eye level with my daughter. You're the bravest person I know. I learned that from you too. Later that night, after Sophie was asleep, I texted Lieutenant Palmer, told her what happened, told her Sophie wanted to testify, asked if that was even possible. She called me back in 2 minutes. Judge Mitchell can interview her in chambers, closed hearing, just him, no parents, no lawyers. If Sophie's willing, if she wants to tell her story, that could change everything. She's 8 years old, Grace. I don't want to put her through that. I know. But Daniel, she's already been through it. The affair, the arguments, the violence, the secrets. She's been carrying this for 6 months. Maybe letting her speak is the kindest thing we can do. Maybe it gives her back some power. I thought about Sophie in the closet, teaching me to breathe, using my words, my techniques, my code, and turning them into something that saved us both. Leave no man behind. She'd learned it, she'd lived it, and now she was ready to fight for it. Okay, I said, if she wants to testify, we let her. One more thing, Lieutenant Palmer said. The judge ordered the financial audit. Results came back. Brendan made unauthorized withdrawals from accounts with your name on them. He forged your signature on loan applications, used your security clearance information to access classified contract bids. This isn't just fraud anymore. This is identity theft, forgery, espionage, adjacent violations. The base commander's been notified. Brendan's security clearance is under review. If they revoke it, he loses everything, his contracts, his income, his access to base, his ability to work in security consulting. He'll be done. Good. Daniel, you did it. You stayed calm. You played the long game. You let the evidence speak. And now we have everything we need. The affair timeline, the fraud, the conspiracy, Marcus's testimony, Charlotte's testimony, Dr. Torres's evaluation, recommending you for primary custody, Sophie's willingness to testify, Brendan's own text messages calling you an easy target. We have it all. I looked at my daughter's bedroom door, the light off. The little girl inside who'd been braver than any soldier I'd ever served with. We're not done yet, I said. Not until Sophie's safe. Not until this is over. It will be, I promise. We leave no man behind, remember? That includes you. The Cumberland County Courthouse, August 12th. 1300 hours. Final custody hearing. I wore my dress uniform. Class A. Medals on the left. 14 years of service in brass and ribbon. The Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, the Army Commendation Medal, Combat Infantryman badge. Every piece of metal representing a moment I survived when I shouldn't have. Jennifer wore black, professional, hair pulled back. No jewelry except her wedding ring. She was still wearing it. I'd taken mine off 3 weeks ago. Brendan wasn't in the courtroom, wasn't allowed. His security clearance had been suspended pending investigation. The base commander had personally escorted him off Fort Liberty property. Civilian contractors who commit fraud don't get second chances. But his presence was there anyway, in the evidence, in the testimony, in the wreckage he'd left behind. Judge Mitchell sat at the bench. Harold Mitchell, retired Army colonel, 61 years old, 30 years in uniform before he traded one kind of service for another. He had the case file in front of him, 3 inches thick now. Every piece of evidence we'd gathered, every witness statement, every lie uncovered. He looked at Jennifer's lawyer. Counselor, your client filed for full custody on the grounds that Captain Carson is dangerous and unstable. You submitted medical records claiming he's violent, unpredictable, a threat to his daughter's safety. Do you stand by those claims? Jennifer's lawyer stood, adjusted his tie. Your Honor, my client was acting on her genuine concerns for her daughter's well-being. Captain Carson's PTSD is documented. His episodes are real. Mrs. Carson believed based on what evidence? Based on her observations as his wife. Based on incidents she witnessed. Did she witness any violence directed at their daughter? Not physical violence, no, but the threat of... Did she witness Captain Carson strike anyone, threaten anyone, engage in any behavior that would constitute domestic violence? The lawyer hesitated. Not in those terms, Your Honor, but... Yes or no, counselor? No, but... Then let's discuss what the evidence actually shows. Judge Mitchell opened the file, pulled out the stack of VA appointment cards, 15 of them, rubber-banded together. Captain Carson has attended every scheduled therapy appointment for 18 months, not one missed session. Dr. Sarah Brennan, his treating psychologist at the VA Medical Center, submitted a letter. I'll read the relevant portion. He put on his reading glasses. Captain Daniel Carson is one of the most dedicated and self-aware patients I have worked with in my 15 years of practice. He attends weekly individual therapy, bi-weekly group therapy, and monthly medication management appointments. He has made significant progress in managing his PTSD symptoms. He uses breathing techniques, maintains a detailed journal, and has developed healthy coping mechanisms. He has never expressed violent ideation. He has never demonstrated aggressive behavior in session. His primary concern every single session is being the best father possible to his daughter. In my professional opinion, Captain Carson poses zero risk to his child. In fact, his commitment to his own mental health makes him a model for healthy parenting. Sophie is safer with a father who acknowledges his wounds and treats them than with adults who hide their dysfunction and call it strength. Judge Mitchell set down the letter, looked at Jennifer. Mrs. Carson, did you know your husband was in this level of treatment? Yes, Your Honor. Did you attend any couples counseling sessions when offered? No. Why not? I didn't think it would help. You didn't think therapy would help, but you thought filing for divorce and claiming your husband was dangerous would help your daughter? Jennifer's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client was in a difficult position. Counselor, I'm not finished. Judge Mitchell pulled out another document, the ring camera footage logs. Staff Sergeant Miguel Rodriguez submitted security camera footage from his residence, which incidentally captures the Carson driveway. 47 instances over 8 months. Each instance shows Brendan Hughes's vehicle arriving between 0430 and 0500 hours, departing between 1130 and 1200 hours. These times correspond exactly with Captain Carson's training schedule. He pulled out printed screenshots, text messages, the timestamps visible. During this same 8-month period, Mrs. Carson sent her husband, who was either training on base or deployed to Afghanistan, 137 text messages claiming she was home alone and missing him. The ring camera footage proves that on 47 of those occasions, Mr. Hughes was already in the residence when these messages were sent. Jennifer went pale. Mrs. Carson, Captain Carson was deployed to a combat zone. He was serving his country. He trusted you, and you were sending him messages designed to make him believe you were faithful while your lover was in his bed. Do you have anything to say about that? Your Honor, I made mistakes. I know that. But this isn't about the affair. This is about Sophie's safety. Is it? Judge Mitchell pulled out the manila folder. The fake medical bills. Let's discuss safety. You submitted $18,000 in fraudulent medical claims. Claims for PTSD treatment that Captain Carson never received because the VA covers 100% of his care. These invoices were fabricated. The IP address traces to Brendan Hughes's laptop. The formatting matches his company's invoices exactly. You and Mr. Hughes conspired to defraud your husband and this court using his combat wounds as justification. He slid the folder across the bench toward Jennifer's lawyer. That's wire fraud, federal charges. But more than that, it's evidence of who you are, Mrs. Carson. You weaponized your husband's PTSD, the trauma he got defending this country. You turned his pain into a con. Jennifer's lawyer tried again. Your Honor, my client acknowledges poor judgment in her personal life, but that doesn't mean... Counselor. Judge Mitchell removed his reading glasses, looked directly at Jennifer. His voice was quiet, measured, deadly. In my 30 years as a soldier and 10 years as a judge, I have never seen such calculated cruelty. The courtroom went silent. Judge Mitchell pulled out another document. Let's continue. On June 13th, 3 weeks before this hearing, Sophie Carson came home from school with a nosebleed. Her gray PT shirt was covered in blood. Captain Carson photographed the shirt, filed a police report, case number 2025-06-1394. Sophie told the responding officer that Brendan Hughes pushed Mrs. Carson during an argument. Sophie tried to intervene. She fell into a door frame, hit her nose. He pulled out the photo, the blood-stained shirt in the evidence bag. Mrs. Carson, did you report this incident? It was an accident. Sophie tripped. Brendan didn't mean... Your 8-year-old daughter interposed herself between two arguing adults to prevent violence, and you called it an accident. You didn't file a report. You didn't seek medical attention. You told your husband, a trained soldier who recognized a domestic violence situation, that he was overreacting. Is that correct? I was trying to protect. Protect who? Not your daughter. You were protecting Brendan Hughes, the man you were having an affair with, the man who created fake medical bills to rob your husband, the man who, according to his own son's testimony, called your husband an easy target and your marriage an easy con. Jennifer's lawyer started to speak. Judge Mitchell held up a hand. I have Marcus Hughes' deposition, 16 years old, drove 2 hours to tell the truth about his father. Do you know what he said? He said his father has a pattern. 5 years ago, Brendan Hughes had an affair with his boss's wife at his previous firm. Senior partner, military family, used the same tactics, made the same promises. And when that relationship ended, he moved on. No remorse, no consequences, just another mark, another game. Judge Mitchell leaned forward. Mrs. Carson, you weren't special to Brendan Hughes. You were convenient, and your husband wasn't broken. He was busy keeping you safe. There's a difference. Jennifer was crying now, silent tears. Her lawyer had stopped trying to interrupt. Judge Mitchell looked at the file one more time. There's one more piece of evidence, a job offer letter, Blackwater Security Solutions, addressed to Captain Carson. Salary, $140,000. Impressive. Except buried in paragraph 7 is a clause requiring immediate relocation to Iraq within 30 days. Continuous presence required, no exceptions. He looked at me, then at Jennifer. Mr. Hughes arranged this offer through his contacts. The timing is notable, right in the middle of the custody battle. If Captain Carson had accepted, he'd be overseas, unavailable, and your lawyer would have argued that Captain Carson was abandoning his daughter, again, choosing his career over his family. The judge, me, would be forced to grant you custody. Not because you're the better parent, but because your husband would be on another continent. He set down the letter. This was never about Sophie's safety. This was about erasing Captain Carson from his daughter's life, so you and Mr. Hughes could play house without interference. Jennifer's lawyer finally spoke. Your Honor, my client was in a difficult marriage. She felt lonely, neglected. I don't care how she felt, Judge Mitchell said. His voice was steel now. I care about what she did. She committed adultery. She committed fraud. She conspired with her lover to gaslight her husband using his PTSD. She exposed her daughter to domestic violence. She lied to this court. She weaponized the legal system to punish a decorated veteran for having the audacity to survive war and come home different than he left. He closed the file. Mrs. Carson's lawyer tried one last play. Your Honor, Captain Carson had a severe PTSD episode just 3 weeks ago, July 4th. He was found by his daughter in a state of I'm aware, Judge Mitchell interrupted. I read Dr. Torres's report. Do you know what happened during that episode? Sophie Carson, 8 years old, found her father having a flashback, and she talked him through it. Used the breathing techniques she'd learned by listening to his therapy sessions. She sat with him, held his hand, and said, "Leave no man behind, Daddy. I've got you." That's not a dangerous father, counselor. That's a child who loves her dad so much she learned his therapy techniques to help him. That's a bond so strong an 8-year-old became a caregiver because she refused to abandon him. Judge Mitchell looked at me. Something passed between us. Recognition, respect, one soldier to another. Captain Carson, I'm ordering primary physical and legal custody to you. Mrs. Carson will have supervised visitation 2 hours weekly until she completes a court-ordered parenting course and demonstrates consistent participation for 6 months. At that time, we'll revisit unsupervised visitation. Sophie will reside with you. Mrs. Carson will pay child support based on her income as a real estate agent. The family home, provided by the military, remains with you as active duty personnel. Mrs. Carson has 30 days to relocate. He looked at Jennifer. Mrs. Carson, I'm recommending the district attorney review the evidence for possible fraud charges. That's not my jurisdiction, but I'm making my recommendation clear. He looked at Jennifer's lawyer. Regarding Brendan Hughes, his security clearance has been revoked by the base commander. He's been barred from all federal installations pending investigation. The fraudulent medical claims and identity theft are being reviewed by the U.S. Attorney's Office. That's also outside my jurisdiction, but I hope they throw the book at him. Jennifer's lawyer sat down, defeated. Judge Mitchell looked at his clerk. I'm ordering a closed hearing with Sophie Carson. Today, 1600 hours, just the child and myself. I want to hear from her directly. Captain Carson, Mrs. Carson, neither of you will be present. Sophie will tell me, in her own words, where she feels safest. And I will listen. He banged the gavel. We're adjourned until 1600 hours. I sat in the hallway outside Judge Mitchell's chambers. 1600 hours, 4 p.m. Sophie had been in there for 20 minutes. Lieutenant Palmer sat next to me. Master Sergeant Hayes was across the hall, waiting. Inside, Sophie was talking to a judge, alone, telling her truth, taking back some of the power that the past 6 months had stolen. I could hear her voice through the door, muffled. I couldn't make out words, but I could hear the rhythm, the pauses, the moments when Judge Mitchell asked questions and Sophie answered. At 16:25, the door opened. Judge Mitchell stepped out. He looked at me. His expression was unreadable. Captain Carson, come in for a moment. I stood, walked into his chambers. Sophie was sitting on the couch. She had her deployment journal. The pressed daisy on page 47 was visible. She'd shown him. Judge Mitchell gestured for me to sit. I sat across from Sophie. She looked at me, smiled, a real smile. The first one I'd seen in weeks. Captain Carson, I asked Sophie to describe her perfect day. No rules, anything she wanted. Do you know what she said? I shook my head. Making pancakes with Daddy, because he lets me crack the eggs, then soccer practice, then reading the deployment journal together. The pages from Afghanistan, because when she reads them, she can hear your voice. And she knows you were always thinking about her, even when you were far away. My throat tightened. I asked her if there was anything else she wanted to add. She said yes. He looked at Sophie. Go ahead, sweetheart. Sophie looked at me. 8 years old, braver than any soldier I'd ever served with. Daddy, I wanted to tell the judge about the 4th of July, about when you had the bad dream from the fireworks, and I found you in the closet, and I helped you breathe, because that's what you taught me. You taught me that love means staying, even when it's hard, even when the other person is scared. You taught me leave no man behind, and I'm not leaving you. Ever. Judge Mitchell's voice was gentle. Sophie, do you know what custody means? It means where I live. That's right. And if you could choose, if you could pick where you feel safest, where would that be? Daddy's house. Why? Because Daddy's there, and that's where I'm safest. Judge Mitchell made a note, looked at me. Captain Carson, your daughter is remarkably articulate, remarkably brave, and remarkably clear about what she needs. Primary custody is awarded to you, not because Mrs. Carson is a bad mother, but because Sophie has made her choice. And I believe children, when they're old enough to understand the stakes, deserve to have their voices heard. He stood, extended his hand. I shook it. Thank you for your service, Captain, and thank you for fighting for your daughter. A lot of men would have given up. You didn't. No, sir, I didn't. Leave no man behind? Yes, sir. Leave no man behind. 3 days later, Lieutenant Palmer called. Daniel, it's done. The U.S. Attorney's Office filed charges against Brendan Hughes. Wire fraud, identity theft, forgery. He's looking at 3 to 5 years if convicted. More likely he'll take a plea. But his career is over. Security clearance revoked permanently. No federal contracts, no access to classified information. He's done. And Jennifer? Accessory charges dropped if she cooperates with the investigation. She agreed. She's also agreed to supervise visitation only. She's enrolling in parenting classes starting next week. And Daniel, the baby. Yeah? Jennifer's sister is adopting Rebecca Hughes, Brendan's sister. She's been trying to have kids for years. Couldn't. Jennifer approached her, asked if she'd consider adoption. Open adoption. The baby will know who Jennifer is, will know the story when she's old enough, but Rebecca will raise her. And Jennifer said she's not ready to be a mom right now, that she needs to figure out who she is before she can be what a child needs. That's good. It is. It's the first unselfish thing she's done in 8 months. What about Marcus? He moved back in with his mom, Charlotte. She got full custody after Brendan's arrest. Marcus is doing okay. He asked me to tell you he's thinking about enlisting when he turns 18. Army. Says he wants to serve with people who understand honor. I smiled. Tell him he's welcome, anytime. One more thing, the base commander called. He wants to meet with you. Something about a training position, teaching PTSD management to new recruits, helping them recognize the signs, teaching them it's okay to ask for help. He thinks you'd be perfect for it. I'd like that. And Daniel, the medical review board, they've granted you an extension, 2 years. You stay on active duty, full benefits, full pay. They said any soldier who fights this hard for his family is worth keeping. Thank you, Grace, for everything. We leave no man behind, remember, that includes you. 2 weeks later, Sophie came home from school, ran upstairs. I heard her door open, heard her stop. I'd put something on her shelf, her dad's unit ball cap, the one Brendan had been wearing, the one the MPs had recovered when they arrested him, the one that was returned to me as personal property. Sophie came downstairs, holding the cap, crying. You kept it safe for me, I said, until I was ready to wear it again. She hugged me. You're always going to be my hero, Daddy. You're mine too, baby girl. 2 years later, Sophie's 10 now, 5th grade, still plays soccer, still writes letters to deployed soldiers, still keeps her deployment journal on her nightstand. I'm still at Fort Liberty, training position, teaching new recruits about PTSD, about asking for help, about the difference between broken and healing. I've helped 43 soldiers so far, 43 men and women who came home different and learned they weren't alone. Jennifer completed her parenting classes, has unsupervised visitation now every other weekend. She's remarried, a civilian, an accountant, someone stable, someone who doesn't wear my medals like trophies. Sophie visits. It's cordial, not warm, but cordial. That's enough. Brendan took a plea. 18 months in federal prison, 5 years probation, permanent ban from federal employment or contracts. He's in minimum security in Virginia. Marcus sends me updates sometimes, says his dad writes letters trying to justify what he did. Marcus doesn't write back. The baby, Jennifer's sister Rebecca, named her Grace, after Lieutenant Palmer. She's 2 now, healthy, happy. Jennifer sees her sometimes. Rebecca sends photos, open adoption working the way it should. I'm dating someone, Sarah, Dr. Sarah Brennan, my VA psychologist. We started seeing each other 6 months ago, after my treatment with her officially ended. Ethics matter, boundaries matter, but some connections are worth waiting for. She understands the nightmares, the flashbacks, the days when the world is too loud. She understands because she's been listening to veterans for 15 years. She knows the words don't always come easy. That's okay. We have time. Today, Sophie and I drove to Washington, D.C., 3 hours, packed lunch, podcast about space for her, silence for me, comfortable silence. We parked near the mall, walked through the pathways, families everywhere, tourists, school groups, people taking photos, people visiting memorials like they're museums. We weren't tourists. We walked to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the wall, black granite, names carved into stone, 58,320 names, men and women who didn't come home. Sophie had a small American flag, the kind you can buy at any hardware store. She carried it carefully, like it mattered, because it does. I had the Zippo lighter, the chrome one Jennifer gave me in 2011. Stay safe, come home. The one Brendan stole. The one that came back to me when they arrested him. I've carried it every day since, not for luck anymore, for memory, for the promise someone made and broke, and the promise I made to myself that I'd keep. We found the name, Panel 23E, Line 47, Staff Sergeant Michael Torres. He saved my life in Afghanistan, March 17th, 2023. The IED that gave me my TBI, my PTSD, my Purple Heart. Jenkins died, 3 others wounded, but Torres pulled me out, dragged me to cover, applied pressure to wounds I didn't know I had. Stayed with me until the medevac came. He died 6 months later. Different IED, different mission. His name is here now, on this wall, forever. Sophie placed the flag at the base of the panel, right under his name. Daniel and Sophie redefined what family means. Not who you're born to, but who shows up when you're at your lowest, who sits with you in the closet, who says, "Leave no man behind," and means it. If you've built your own chosen family, the people who chose to stay when they could have left, tell me about them in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And if this story moved you, subscribe. I tell stories about resilience when everything falls apart, about the battles we fight at home, about the people who refuse to leave us behind. I'll see you in the next one. Sophie pulled out a piece of paper, folded. She'd been working on it for weeks, a letter. She'd written it for her social studies class. Letters to deployed soldiers, but she wanted to read it here first, at the wall, for Torres, for Jenkins, for all of them. She unfolded it, her handwriting, neat, careful. She started reading aloud. "Dear soldier, my name is Sophie Carson. I'm 10 years old. My dad is Captain Daniel Carson. He's in the Army. He's been deployed 4 times. He has PTSD from a bomb in Afghanistan. Sometimes he has nightmares. Sometimes he gets scared when there are loud noises. But he's still my hero, because heroes aren't people who never fall down. Heroes are people who get up even when everything hurts, even when they're scared, even when it's hard. My dad taught me that we leave no man behind. That means we don't abandon people we love. Not on the battlefield, not at home, not ever. So if you're deployed right now and you're scared and you're wondering if anyone remembers you, we do. I do. You're not alone. Someone's waiting for you to come home. And when you do come home, even if you come home different, that's okay. Different isn't broken. Different just means you survive something hard. And surviving is brave. Thank you for your service. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for coming home. Love, Sophie Carson. She finished reading, folded the letter, placed it next to the flag at the base of the wall. I knelt down next to her, pulled out the Zippo lighter, struck the flint. The flame caught, small, steady. I lit a memorial candle someone had left earlier. The wick took. The flame grew. Staff Sergeant Torres, I said quietly, you saved my life. I'm still here because of you, and I'm trying every day to make that mean something, to be worth saving. This is Sophie, my daughter. She's the reason I fought to come home. She's the reason I keep fighting now. Thank you for giving me the chance to be her dad. Sophie put her hand in mine. We stood there, at the wall, the names reflecting in the black granite, the flame from the candle flickering, the Zippo lighter warm in my palm. Leave no man behind, not on the battlefield, not at home, not ever. Sophie looked up at me. Daddy, can we come back next year? Yeah, baby girl, we can come back every year. Good, because I want to bring more letters, for all of them, so they know someone remembers. We walked away from the wall, hand in hand, father and daughter, wounded and healing, different than we were, better than we were. The sun was setting, the sky was orange and pink. The memorials cast long shadows. Families were heading to their cars, kids were tired, parents were patient. Sophie squeezed my hand. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Sophie. Even when it's hard? Especially when it's hard. She smiled. Leave no man behind. Leave no man behind. We got in the truck, started the drive home. 3 hours. Sophie fell asleep before we hit the highway. Her deployment journal on her lap, the pressed daisy still on page 47, a reminder of who we were, who we are, who we're still becoming. I drove through the twilight, the road ahead clear, the rearview mirror showing where we'd been, the Zippo lighter in my pocket, the Purple Heart at home in its velvet box, the scars on my body and in my mind that tell the story of survival. I'm Captain Daniel Carson, 38 years old now, 16 years in the Army, 4 tours, 1 Purple Heart, 1 daughter who saved me more than I ever saved her. The hardest battle I've ever fought wasn't overseas. It was right here, in a courthouse, in a closet, in a custody hearing where everything I loved was on the line. And I won. Not because I was stronger, not because I was perfect, but because I stayed. Because when the war came home, I learned new weapons, evidence, truth, love, patience, and the words my daughter taught me when I needed them most. Leave no man behind, not even yourself, especially not yourself. The road stretched ahead, home waiting, tomorrow coming. The battles never really end, but neither does the fighting, neither does the healing, neither does the love. Sophie stirred in the passenger seat, mumbled something in her sleep, smiled. I kept driving, toward home, toward tomorrow, toward whatever comes next, together.